It's Damien here. So we've had to use different computers. We've had a major issue last minute, unfortunately.
That's okay. That's okay. This show will go on. I guess we could go a little past 8 p.m. Eastern because of this lost time. Oh, I see you have video there. I actually don't have any sort of video cam here, but this is strictly audio, by the way. Not that you
Oh,
need this,
sure.
but that's cool. You can hear me?
I can hear you fine now.
Uh,
You can hear me okay?
yep, and I can see you too. So,
Excellent.
uh, it's good to know. Let me Did someone try to contact me here? Okay, so you're using this Melissa Kennedy's contact info. Okay,
Correct.
well, this show will go on tonight. I'm glad we were able to do this. I sent you a message on your on Gmail saying if we can't do it tonight, we'll do it some other day, either Friday or Wednesday or Friday of next week. But that's nothing to worry about now because I'm speaking to you. Hopefully, I didn't lose too many people in my audience who were thinking the show wasn't going to go on today, but it is. And the important thing is, I will archive this, of course, so all the live listeners will be able to listen to you. So, starting off, this maybe this has nothing to do with UFOs. Maybe this has everything to do with UFOs. But I can't help but ask you because it just happened yesterday. What do the folks down under have to say about the what happened in the election?
Well, I mean, I don't think we're as I mean, it's not affecting our country as much, but at the same time, I think something like this, I mean, with America, I mean, Australia being a partner of America in every major war and, being friends with you guys, it probably will affect us in some way in the future. I mean, a lot of people is just, I can't believe that Trump has gotten into power. A lot of people think he's simple, all that sort of kind of stuff. Like me, I think a billionaire can't be too simple. I think he has some intelligence about him, whether he may not be too articulate with his words or whatever the case may be. I'm not 100% sure. I have not been following it that much myself. I've fortunately had a lot of work not Trump related to do so. But yeah, I have a lot of people have sort of up in not up in arms, but sort of a little bit angry, really, that Trump is in power. I mean, I'm not sure if if you guys had too much to choose from in the politician stakes. So, who knows what's really going on, and the future is only going to be the only thing that really says if it was a good decision or not. Whatever comes from this. So, hello.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. It's just that I'm on mute whenever you're talking, and I just found out that because I'm using this Open Broadcaster software, I have to mute manually because muting the microphone on Skype for whatever the reason does not actually drown out the background noise, and I don't want people to hear my annoying breathing while you're speaking. That would be a nuisance. Okay, but Hillary Clinton, even though she didn't win, there was some talk about Hillary Clinton is allegedly interested in UFOs, and I don't know if that was a lie or not. But because Hillary Clinton, being an Illuminati grand dame and all that, she must know something about that, and uh, and is hiding it from the public, and is maybe just making it seem like she cares about UFOs in an attempt to, I don't know, draw votes or something. But as far as politicians go, being a UFO researcher, what do you see in regards to politicians down under and also on a global scale in regards to their interest in wanting to study UFOs? And in general, when they say, I'm interested in UFOs, are they telling the truth or are they just exaggerating and lying and bullshitting us and that?
Uh, that's a great question. It's probably a little bit of all of the above, really. I think um, I know that Hillary's been interested herself in UFOs for a while, and I know that Clinton was before he got into power, and I know that Carter was, and I know that Reagan was, and I know that all those guys said that they would try and get to the bottom of this, and as we're still waiting on, some sort of information about it. I think it's above any president. This kind of stuff. There's that thought that it is cosmic top secret, and there's certain levels where the president is actually able to, what he's privy to, certain levels of top secret, and this goes above him apparently. But then I've heard talk from the Russian president Medvedev, where he's spoken about that come into power, certain briefcases and this and that, and in is actually talk about, UFOs and the fact that they've been visiting us for a long, long time, and the governments know about it. So, maybe they do know, but I think it is bigger than them, and I don't think that, and possibly Hillary could have put that out there for the UFO people to vote for her. Like, if you put me in power, I'll release all the UFO stuff. But I mean, looking back on past presidents who said the same thing, I mean, not much really gets done. Unfortunately, it sort of is out of their hand at the end of the day, and it's a bit of a sad thing, because it's not something that should be kept secret. It's something that all humans should know about, whether we're ready for it or not, And personally, just looking at the state of the earth at the moment and humans, and we're going crazy, really, and we've never gone through a time like this in history, where we're going through a technological revolution, a scientific revolution of the mind. We're opening ourselves to other possibilities, and people are turning away from churches and religions and all this sort of stuff. So it's a time of change. So it's a really special time in history, and it's something that we've not reached before. Or as far as I know, we may have been here millions of years ago. Who really knows about that kind of stuff? But the possibility is that, even if she were to have gotten in power, I think it would have gone the same way as, other presidents in the past who've actually seen UFOs with their own eyes and really wanted to get to the bottom of it, and they couldn't, So I'm not sure how much pull Hillary would have really had at the end of the day, when it's seen as though it is above her head. So.
Yes, yes, and let's switch to the work you do for a moment, specifically filming UFOs. If you type your name in YouTube, there's a video here that says "Not a ufologist, UFO hoaxer busted." Damien Nott, maybe you've seen that. Damien Nott is a wannabe ufologist who likes to film bugs and call them UFOs. I did click on that, and it has like 4 times as many dislikes as it has likes. So I'm guessing it's a crappy video, and the viewers realize that. So for all those people who are skeptical of filming UFOs, which is fair enough. There's a lot of skeptics out there. I'm sure you want to say, I'm not a fraud, I'm not a liar, my videos are authentic, even though I can't identify what I'm viewing because it's a UFO, hence the name UFO. I can assure you that nonetheless, even though I can't identify them, my videos are authentic. So please debunk this video and anyone else who tries to debunk the videos that you shoot saying they're just frauds.
Yeah, look, I'm not too fussed about that. I know that there is, like I mentioned, we're going through a sort of a revolution at the moment, and YouTube has recently made it safe for people like this gentleman's channel to attack people like myself, and without any fear of recrimination or getting their videos put down. So YouTube has actually backed these guys and said they will, even support them with YouTube lawyers in court, if people like myself kick up a stink and say, "Oh, that's wrong." But in any case, I looked at that video a year ago, and I actually laughed most of the way through it. I couldn't watch it to the end because it was a bit too gross. I mean, talking about raping and all this kind of stuff. I don't know what that has to do with ufology. But I mean, when you got like a 20-something-year-old guy with tattoos all around his neck saying he wants to rape you and do all this kind of stuff, you can't really take that too seriously. And then what I noticed was the guys actually, I had a channel about 4 years ago in Dunedoo where a lot of the sightings were happening, and I had a really terrible camera back then, and I knew nothing about photography or videography or anything. So I decided to, set the camera up, and I'd come back to it later on and look through it frame by frame, or not frame by frame, but just watch it and see if I saw anything strange. And every now and then you'd see something fly past really quick. Most of these things are insects, and I've found that out now, only not through other people saying it, but through my own work. And so over 2 years ago, most of what he showed as evidence was from an old channel, which I haven't had access to for nearly 3 years. And most of what he's shown is not stuff that I actually show the public. What I show the public is what is on my website, www.aapi.info, and also on the YouTube channel AAPI. And that's all. I mean, I've spoken about some of the work, and I've already looked at the work as misidentification, some of what he was saying, but the rest of what he was saying, just swearing over videos. I mean, it's not debunking anything. It's actually making himself out to be quite the person he actually is. And he made 2 videos of that event. Of that video, he made 2 copies of it for some reason. And before that, I was going to call him up and say, look, this is, what you've got wrong. I actually we did explain it to him that you're misrepresenting my work. You're showing stuff from an old channel, which was just was basically documenting my foray into photography and videography. That's all it was. And I make mistakes. Everyone has made mistakes. Like the rod phenomena. If I'm sure you know about the rod phenomena that was around, a few years ago with Jose Escamilla, and a lot of people seeing these strange, long-looking cigar-type things flying around in the sky at high speeds. Now, I think pretty adequately they're being debunked as insects, most of them. There could be an unknown insect that we don't know about that maybe moves too quick, we don't know, but I'm pretty much sure that most of these things are insects due to my own work on it and spending thousands of hours outside looking up at the sky trying to photograph these misidentifications so I know what the real deal is, what the real deal is and what is not. And so now on the website, I have hundreds of photos of things that, I get sent a lot of pictures all the time from people, and most of them, like 90% of the photos I get sent are lens flares, of people pointing their mobile phone camera at the sun and getting a little green dot over here or something like this. And some of them actually claim to see it at the time. And then you just think, okay, well, no, you couldn't have seen a lens flare unless you're looking at the camera. And I just find it strange that you can't really tell these people that it's not a UFO, because as soon as you do, you get attacked, and people just want to believe what they believe. And I've done the research. I know what. So right now, I've become sort of a pariah of the new age ufology field, where they think I'm some sort of government agent working against them to try and debunk all their photos and videos. But I'm not. I'm just trying to bring some reality and truth to it, because it's just blown out of the water. And, everyone just tends to believe that everything that they've photographed is something absolutely strange and bizarre. And, I've had some of the biggest names in the field who claim to see alien beings and all this sort of stuff send me photographs of mosquitoes reflecting flash of a camera, and and claiming it's an alien being. And when I say, look, it's not an alien being, here's several examples exactly the same. And all of a sudden you're a bad person, and you're telling them the truth about what they're capturing. So a lot of these people who are making money off the UFO field, like Kyle with this video, basically in an email back to us said that the reason why he attacked me was not because of the videos, was because of my connection with a couple of people in the UFO field, like James Gilliland and Peter Maxwell Slattery. And he actually sent me Peter Maxwell Slattery's home address as some sort of threat or something, and I've tried to keep to myself in this field. I've got a couple of friends, loosely named, but everyone has their own beliefs. Everyone does their own thing. I do my own thing. I don't particularly believe, everything that everyone says about, all these things that they're supposedly seeing, or alien contacts and all this sort of stuff. You've got to look for changes in people's stories, and to be a good investigator, police officer, whatever the case may be, if someone starts changing their stories, even little details of their stories, you've got to start to ask and wonder why. And why is the story getting bigger and bigger, like Chinese whispers coming out of your mouth, and you're telling people this? So you got to ask, hey, hold on, are these people telling the truth, or is something actually appearing to them but tricking them? A similar thing I noticed that a very big name in the world, I've noticed that he's one of his talks he showed a picture of Jesus, and Mary, the Virgin Mary, as though the Virgin Mary had appeared to him. And it was a blurry photo, but a blurry photo of Mary as she would have appeared to the Christians, not the real Mary as she would have been like in real life. So the things that are appearing to these people, supposedly, in these blurry photos are that are based on a Christian view of them, i.e. Jesus was really, he was an Arabic. He was Middle Eastern. So was Mary. But the Christians turned him into a blue-eyed, blonde-haired, long blonde hair, beautiful-looking man, so that he was more with, Christianity, religion, all that sort of stuff. And instead of just being like, typical Arabic-looking guy, whatever the case may be, Middle Eastern. So these things that are appearing to them are appearing as not what they would have been in real life, except they're appearing as how they appear in photos drawn by Christians. So either the people who they're appearing to are lying about these so-called religious people appearing to them, or the so-called religious people appearing to them are tricking to them and appearing not what they really should look like. So it's kind of really strange. And you look at little things like that and you say, okay, it's a bit strange, but whatever. But if I had a Jesus appearing in front of me, out of a mist, I would not just and say, okay, there's proof that I'm special, and here's one blurry photo. You'd film the thing, no doubt. Anybody would. Anyone would film it or say, please pose for me, Mary, or something. If it's going to appear for you like that. I've seen people take photographs of mists in their backyard and then claim it was an alien that appeared a few seconds later, but yet they have no footage or nothing of this alien. So there's a whole lot of untruths and conjecture, and just reports that don't make sense that come from these big names. And you notice that overnight they get all these special powers, which is really, really strange. So the UFO field now, not the UFO field, when I say the UFO field, there's a lot of misinterpretation. There's a lot of people who think, like with myself, a lot of the negative stuff that has come from the documentary Australian Skies has been people who think that I'm making money out of this field. And the fact is, and anyone in Australia here who's actually done the research or who knows me, knows that I don't make any money from this field. As a matter of fact, I've turned away money. I've turned away four-wheel drive cars. I've turned away like lenses for cameras. I've turned, so much stuff. I've done over 30 presentations, and some of them for just $30 each, and I've traveled 800 kilometers, and it hasn't even covered petrol or so. But people think that, oh wow, he's making heaps of money and he's in 3 or 4 documentaries and he's making all this cash. It's not the case at all. I've turned down money from every that I've just for this very point to say that I'm not taking money off the UFO field. And I think that's very important. But still, Chinese whispers, and it gets lost. No one actually does any research in this field. Unfortunately, no one actually calls the people up and say blah, blah, blah. But they're quick, especially on the internet, they're very quick to judge and very quick to just lay out their cards, and that's it. And that's the truth, But the reality is that, yeah, no one's really actually doing proper investigation. And this is why I started up AAPI, was to get some proper scientific minds involved in the field and the phenomena, and which is what's happening now, which is great. And, so there's some big things coming, and scientific things that the public can actually look at and go, oh, wow, what the hell is going on? And it's just stuff like that that I want to focus on, not stories of people, not stories of people speaking to aliens and all this kind of stuff. I'm focusing on the reality as much as I can. So
Thank you very much. Just so you know, there seems to be a few connection problems, breaking up and all that, but it hasn't been for very long periods of time. So let's just bear with that, and hopefully it won't continue to be an issue. And right now that you've gotten that out, I want to give you the chance to play the role of primary source. It says here in this description of you on the UFO Research New South Wales Incorporated YouTube channel, where there's a 47-minute video of you giving a talk. It says that you began investigating and researching the UFO phenomenon after a sighting you had over 28 years ago at the age of 9. So why don't you tell us all about that and how that kick-started a the rest is history kind of thing, if you know what I mean, in regards to the work that you are currently doing now.
yeah, I started.
Oh, internet connection problems again. Hang on. Your screen is spinning. I can't see you on screen right now. It's spinning pretty bad. The thing here, and can you hear me fine? By the way.
I can hear you
Okay.
every
Well,
now and then.
every now and then. All right. Well, you were breaking up pretty bad. Um, let's tell you what. Can I hang up on you and try calling you again?
Problem.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that. Let's try that. See if that might help. trying to call him. It's not connecting. Wonder why. This might be massive NSA infiltration. Hope I'm wrong. But, folks, bear with me. See how bad this is. I'm using the Melissa Kennedy Skype info. Try to call him, not the Damien Nott one. He'll probably try calling me if it doesn't work. My internet access seems fine. Let me see if he can try calling me. Hey, you there?
Hey, Andrew. Yeah, I'm here. Right.
Man, but you're there, but
Can
you're
you hear me
break.
okay?
Well, I can see your picture now, but it's kind of choppy. The picture, man. Wonder what's causing this. You got any bad weather down there by any chance right now?
Nothing, nothing. I've had major problems with everything with the website the last few days. All sorts of strange things have been going on. It's really bizarre. I mean, I re-uploaded a new site to my computer just yesterday, and I thought everything was fine. And then I went to go use it before, and it says plugin has failed. I'm like, what? And so I don't know what's going on. It's just insane. So my partner loaned me her computer, but it seems to be okay my end.
Okay,
Um,
it's I can hear you fine now, even though your picture's a little choppy, your voice is choppy. You are coming through. So, I mean, are you do you get sabotaged a lot by when you're doing interviews and all? Out of curiosity.
um, 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 I have stuff. I don't like talking about it publicly. Yeah, thing. You know, it started to go my
I couldn't make out a single thing you said just now. That's how bad it is.
oh, really? Um, yeah, 4 years ago, the emails stopped coming, and then they would come like 4 weeks later, and they'd come in bulk, like there'd be 70 or 80 at once, you know?
Mm,
I had a lot of problems like that, a lot of internet problems, a lot of, like, actually really weird,
mm,
like, it's all the India, unlimited, and it's sometimes it won't connect. Just when I'm about to do a review, I don't like to say it's a government or anything like that, but you know, it makes you think, go, what's going on? You know, it's pretty strange.
yes, it is strange what we know what the NSA can do in regards to sabotaging things. Well, you're there now, and even though every so often a little thing saying internet connection is a internet connection problem, we're going to try to get you back and all that. I guess we can continue going through this and just suck it up and hope the angels and guides will be with us and prevent
Yeah,
any more glitches from happening. So I guess I'll give you the floor right now, and I'm not going to say anything about whether there's a glitch or not. Let's talk about that experience you had at the age of 9, 28 years ago, which has caused you to continue doing what you're doing in regards to filming and all that.
sure. It was a Sunday evening. I was 9 years old, and I was on my way back from a friend's house, and I was a bit late. It was nearly dusk, and it was nearly down. There was a little bit of light in the sky. About a 10-minute walk home. I was going up over a hill. I had a skateboard under my arm, some reason I got to the top of the hill adjacent to my street, and I looked up, and directly above me was a red sphere, like a red ball. And looking back now, it probably would have been 20 feet above me, and it was probably the size of a basketball. Hard to sort of tell when you're younger, but just based on memory now, it's probably the size of a basketball. And it was just sort of hovering there, directly above me, stopped. It was bright. It looked kind of strange too, but it looked like a kind of eye going through the iron oxide, like a dark kind of rusty red. It was really bizarre. And sort of said, you know, and you know, that was interesting. And got on my skateboard, and yesterday I looked back up again, and sure enough, this thing is keeping pace with me while I'm on my skateboard. I'm only going, you know, maybe 7 or 8 kilometers an hour or something like that, and you know, in a bumpy hill. And then I stopped again, looked up, and the second I stopped, the object stopped as well. I noticed this very, it was pretty straightforward what it was doing. So I just thought, I started to get down a little bit freaked. I got my skateboard under my arm and I ran the rest of the way. I looked up one more time, I saw it one more time, and then the rest of the way I ran without looking. It freaked me out. What's going on here? And I remember getting home and I ran up and saw my mum, and she nearly had, and she's like, "Where are you?" I just saw a light in the sky follow. But I was probably a plane, you know. But I knew that it wasn't an aeroplane. So I really wanted to prove my mum wrong in a way. So I started getting into the ghosts. What it was that I saw was that there was people all around the world that were seeing similar kind of things, or similar, especially with these red spheres. Motivated me, and then 3 years later, I had a multiple brothers at the time, and it was a hot summer night here, and you know, and we just were lying on our backs looking up at the stars, and then all of a sudden, another red sphere has come into, you know, our frame of view and started flying around, and it would stop, and then it would cover a great distance to the sky, and it would stop again without any forward inertia whatsoever. Then it would take off in a different direction, you know. It did this for about 4 minutes, and then all of a sudden there was a blue light that came into play out of nowhere. It was the same size as the red light, and a greeny yellow light came in as well. And anyway, they started chasing this red light around the sky right above myself and my 2 stepbrothers. And we were just dumbfounded, oh my God, and we're yelling at the house for our parents to come out. Please come and see this. Even my brother Anthony went up to the door and said, come out. And they wouldn't have a bar of it. They didn't want to come out. But we watched this red UFO or red object getting chased around the sky for about a good 10 minutes, but it seemed like forever. And that was another thing which sort of then got me into it further, 3 years after my first sighting when I was much younger, when I was 9. And then from then on, I've had sporadic sightings throughout my life, which has sort of got me into it until 2012 that I really, I moved to the country into an area which is sort of a known hotspot around here. And from the second night I was there in August 2012, things just started going absolutely haywire. I mean, I was one night on the second night I was there, and it was about 11 o'clock at night, and with Dunedin, there's about 500 people in the whole town, and at night time there's no street lights, so you can see the sky very clearly. That area is known as the astronomy capital of Australia because of how much you can see in the night sky, and nearby there's actually a telescope thing, and I'm just standing there and I'm looking up the back, and the neighbour's house behind us, a massive white ball has just started cruising over the house, and that was it. And then it just moved behind this big. The house was actually illuminating the roof tiles on the top of the house, and I was just dumbfounded. I was like, "Oh my God, what is? Here they are again." I'm like, "Oh, have they followed me up here? What's going on? This is bizarre." Anyway, from that night on, from that object itself actually started heading towards the cattle on the outside of the town. Once a month in Dunedin, they have these cattle auctions where people come in and buy, cattle and cows and all that sort of stuff, and sheep and all that. So they store them the night before in this big pen area, this object, this glowing object, was headed towards that area, and then but it disappeared. It was gone, and then a few seconds later, right where it was headed, all the animals started going crazy, like a you know, a cacophony of just animals going insane all at once, and it was incredible. And I heard that a couple of up in Dunedoo, where objects would be seen near animals, especially the would go crazy. Sheep and the dogs especially all around town would go crazy. And when I say crazy, I don't. It's like it's like there's a predator around, and they all really. It's like they're being annoyed by something. It's very strange, whether that be some sort of field the craft's giving off, electromagnetic disturbances, whatever the case may be. That with phenomena. One data, Michael Williams, and he's a 14 investigator UFOs, he's written books on the Bigfoot and the big cats of Australia, sort of stuff. And he's seen a bunch of things around me now, but the thing that settled it for him that something was going on strange was up at this place called Tipperary, and we'd set up the EMF meter behind us and cameras into a valley behind us. And this place got activity going back 20 years, reported by all the locals and everything. And so I'm filming on the valley behind us, and all of a sudden the EMF meter goes crazy, behind us. So we're all turned around, we're looking at the meter going nuts, and while the camera's filming behind us, and while this happens, a light comes from the sky, goes right over my shoulder, literally it was about probably 3 feet long, and it was a glowing white light. It looked like it had a bit of a red top on it, like a matchstick, like a glowing matchstick. Really bizarre. And it's right in front of Mike and Lance. It's gone straight and melted into the ground over my left shoulder, and it made me jump so much, like it literally scared Mike jump, and meter was going crazy. So I know that there is some sort of earth or whatever, and not every time, but which is really strange. And especially the next morning when we looked at the video behind us in the valley, we caught these objects, 13 of them coming from up high, changing direction, and then going into the valley straight behind us. No sound, no anything. As far as I know, even micrometeorites can't change direction, speed, and slow down and stuff. And the cream of the cake of that video was objects which appeared horizontally above the mountain, 800 meters away from. That was absolutely incredible. Just appears out of the sky and green. And all the while this is happening, the meter's going crazy behind us, and so there was a lot of activity that we see, and we don't know whether it's natural. It might be something that humans don't really know about yet. We don't know everything about this Earth. We don't know everything about the oceans. We know next to nothing about space, even though we like to think we do. I think as humans, we like to think that we are in knowledge so that we feel like we're in control of our life. And something out there that's big and scary, it makes us feel, vulnerable. People hide behind religion and say, look, I'm protected, I've got the Lord over me, and whatever gets you your life, right? So with me, I've seen so much strange stuff that I know that there is something going on. I just really don't know what it is. I've had the dreams where I've seen aliens in dreams. Stuck in some black goo, but that was a dream, right? So a lot of people who do have experiences have dreams like that and then claim that as extraterrestrial contact or abduction. But me, I've always been of the thing that, look, I've immersed my life in ufology, so there's no doubt that subconsciously, eventually I would dream about it as well. So I'm not saying wiping off and say, oh, look, I haven't been abducted or I haven't this. I just have no actual evidence for it, nothing substantial that I can say, oh, okay, look, this has actually happened to me. In the documentary, I speak about this thing under my collarbone, and I've had it since I was a little kid. My parents didn't know what the hell it was. I've never known what it was. And it's just something really strange, and I was sort of talked into sort of releasing it for the documentary to myself. And that's sort of what I'm being attacked on by a few people. oh, blah, blah. If anyone wants to actually do I mean, I don't speak about anything that I don't have evidence for or witnesses to back up what I say. And you'll see that on the I only provide stuff and only show stuff, unlike Bunny Do, where I was documenting everything that I was filming and putting it all on there. Who knows what it was, blah, blah, blah. But now I only show things that I see with multiple witnesses and film on multiple cameras. That's all I show. And I don't show stuff that I come back to the camera and then find something strange after setting it up for, I have very little luck doing it that way. And most of the time you catch insects. And I think it's a good thing to learn about this kind of stuff, because I want people to get into this subject, and I want other, children and kids to have the feeling I had as a kid, and the beauty of it all and the amazingness and the wow, how special it all is. I want kids to feel. I want parents to take their kids outside instead of sitting behind the computer or the internet all night. Go and look at the sky. Do what the ancients used to do. It'll do you the world of good, and plus you might see something incredible. And this has been my message from the start. It's just for me, it's sort of a lot of discrimination in my life, because and I've spoken because attitude of the general public towards the topic. And as you probably know, if you bring it up amongst certain individuals who know nothing about it, or you'll get a oh yeah, like whatever, you get that kind of look like, oh, he's nuts, don't worry about him, and they just sort of wipe you off. Oh, that's got to stop in society, and I'm sick of people being called crazy and all this sort of stuff, because they dare to speak about something that's happened to them. And with science, it's going to progress eventually. We're going to know what's going on, if not know it. We're going to have an idea that, yes, something is going on, and hopefully the stigma will get lifted. And this is what I've been trying to do, is just to show people that normal people can have a sighting as well, or sightings, and not be crazy. The point of filming was to show that, look, if I'm crazy, my camera's crazy, my witnesses are crazy. Right up now, I'm up to 153 witnesses since Dunny Do, seen UFOs around me. 4 of them are doctors. I've had a judge, all sorts of people from all walks of life who've seen them now and just are blown away, And my next documentary, Fractured Realities, I'll be having a couple of officers on there speaking about UFOs. One of them actually filmed a UFO with me in the backyard. And these things come and hover above my head within 15, 20 meters and then blink out, or it's just truly bizarre. But it's something that, my father, he'd never seen one up until 2012, but he knew my whole life and with my brothers that we'd seen them and that I had an interest in it. But wasn't actually pulled, Dad, you've got to come. And sure enough, he came, and then there's this is in the afternoon, we had a massive orange sphere heading towards the backyard, over the neighbour's fence, coming towards us. And this thing was huge. And my father's come to the back door, and I've pointed it to him, and he's gone, oh, my God. And the second I pointed it to him and he's seen it, the thing has just sucked in on itself and disappeared. This is during the daytime. Like, there was nothing it could have been. There was no mirage or anything like this. It was just there. It was something incredible. And this would happen time and time again when I'd try to call people out or this or that. They'd see it for a second, or they wouldn't, or it would disappear. And it just, that kind of thing makes you think, oh, okay, was it only meant for me to see? And so my father would say, look, that was only meant for you, when they disappear as soon as he'd see them. But he'd see them and then, they'd go. And he's like, oh, my God, so there is an intelligence there. There's an extreme intelligence, an extreme something that, we want to get to the bottom of. And I think it's alien to what we know is real, but I don't think it's all just straightforward as extraterrestrials up in a spaceship coming down from another solar system. I think there's a lot more in depth to that, than that. I think there's, they've been, or whatever it is, has been monitoring and watching and us as a race for a long time now. And, I think it goes deeper than just, it's almost like a zoo kind of thing. This Earth feels like to me, feels like something that maybe was created definitely because of how incredible it is and how incredible we are as beings to do what we do, and and to be alive and to be the sort of the apex predator of this planet sort of thing. But at the same time, I think it'd be a good thing for this to come out. But at the same time, in all honesty, from what I've seen, I don't think humans, even though we have the internet now, I don't think we're all ready for such an event to take place. Just we're still warlike. Look at the way we treat each other. Look at the way we treat people who look different than us, from different races, all this sort of stuff. And imagine an alien comes down and lands on the White House lawn. Someone's going to go, okay, there's someone who looks different. Bam, you're dead. Like, it's just, we treat each other like rubbish. And how do you think we're going to treat these guys if they come down? We're going to experiment on them. We're going to do this and that and find out everything we can, steal their technology. We're terrible. Why would they want to actively come and land on the White House lawn? That's something never, when the skeptics say that, I think, that's just silly. Like, if they were watching us and have been watching us for a long time, they'd realize that we are extremely warlike, and we are have the propensity for violence instantly. We can't even accept our own neighbours, all the time without fighting or all this sort of stuff. So imagine what we're going to be like with, an ET visitor or some sort of visitor visiting us, and the knowledge of that. It'll just be intense, So it's pretty crazy.
No question it is, and we'll get back to that thing about is the human race ready later on. But I want to talk about the kind of video technology that you specifically use. I mean, if it's just a regular old camera, if you got a camera hanging around, just use it. Or some cases, there's special technology. Like I did interview Ben Hansen, who's well known with the whole night vision thing, and learned all about how that technology works. And at some recent conferences I was at, we did some UFO watching. James Gilliland was at, you mentioned him earlier, he was at a Mount Shasta conference that I was at about a year and a half ago, and we saw some UFOs up in the sky using some night vision technology as well, I believe. And but then again, night vision is not always available. But if it is available, do you use it? And is there any other kind of technology besides just the regular old camera that you happen to have lying around that you feel is good for filming this kind of stuff?
I use infrared equipment, i.e., an infrared monocular, which records straight to SD card. So you just have to point, shoot, press a button, and you've got recorded. But the quality is not as good as one that goes straight to a PC. But it's just basic. It's only a $400 unit. But the stuff that Ben has, you're looking at, $2,000 kind of infrared equipment. But what we really need, and what I think he has been working with, we came down to Australia for a Paracon, which is a paranormal festival here in Australia, a 2-day thing. I was speaking at that. Ben came speaking at that a couple of years ago as well. He showed me at the time equipment been using as well as infrared, and that thermal is absolutely amazing. I mean, I'd love to. You can even get it now, but and it's relatively cheap for mobiles. But you can only really look at area sort of close by around you. It's not really good for far distance kind of. But the better thermal equipment at 10, 15 grand for that kind of stuff. Yeah, that can be really good for looking up at things at the sky, seeing heat sources, that kind of thing. Just recently, I was up at a Paradigm Shift Summit, which is another conference up at the Gold Coast, and I was speaking at that, and there was a crew that came from Canada, and they're doing a documentary going around the world at the moment doing all this sort of stuff. Anyway, they interviewed me for the documentary, and then afterwards they gave me this rig they had set up. I've got a couple of rigs myself with multiple different cameras on it, HD, 4K, that kind of thing, a telescope, and so you can just sort of point and shoot and film with multiple cameras at the same time, an object in the sky. And so it's not just one camera. You can say, okay, multiple cameras in multiple formats, and you can really, it's a lot better evidence. Anyway, these guys have a rig that was worth about $40,000 on this, a $5,000 tripod and all this sort of stuff, and on it like 15, 20 grand. And so I was like, oh wow, this is, for me it was like a dream compared to my rigs. I was like, oh my god, I'm in heaven, and I couldn't keep away from the thing. But the first time after we did the interview, they said, can you have a look through the camera and see if you can see anything? I looked through the eyepiece, and right in front of me, a big UFO disc has appeared and slowly moving across the sky. And in the surface paradise where we were, there's a lot of high-rise buildings, and this thing's going behind buildings and really low, no noise. You could see it could eye, and that's the beauty of thermal. You can see things from their heat source, or if they're giving off cold or whatever the case may be. And so this thing was giving off two different temperatures at two different times. At 1 minute, it was giving off a cold temperature, ice cold. Next second, it was boiling hot. Like it changed from black to white. It was really bizarre. Anyway, so I said, when I was I'm like, I thought they were playing a practical joke. Like they stuck something on the outside of the camera, or or whatever. I just thought, this is crazy. And so I gave it to the guy who's making the documentary. Are you guys having a joke? He looked, he said, oh my God. And he then started following it and recording it as well. So I said, look, and he's like, yeah, look, there's a disc in the sky. And by that time, a bunch of people have started, gathering around and all stuff, looking to this thing. And I think a few people saw it. But get this, and I arranged this whole thing. We filmed. Okay, wow, it's going to be incredible footage for documentary. There's a disc sitting on the other end up in the sky. I was just like, no, good to be true, right? And this has happened so many times. 3 documentaries I've been in, 5 UFOs now have shown up in 3 different documentaries I've been in. And it's why I'm doing that. It's just for Australian skies, the same thing happened. We rocked up to a field, and at late at night, it was like 11:30 or something, and we're just about to do our last shoot for the doc. And sure enough, right in front, moving about 30-40 meters above this field, just moving across really slowly, no sound, in the dark, glowing. It was just incredible. And so I started filming, and I'm filming. Guys, the other guys who was filming it as well goes, things, and it had stopped filming by itself. Now this has happened a few times. Only with certain types of objects we see. It's really bizarre. But I did manage to get it on film in the end when I started recording again, and then I photographed and film as well. And so did the cameraman. But this happened with the documentary crew, the Canadian guys, when they came. And their press record filming it, get this, the work, but the audio worked. And that has this is like a $20,000 camera, and they said that has never, ever happened before, or since that moment that, and it's only recorded audio, and the rest of the screen is black. So, that's just truly bizarre. It never happened before that moment or after that moment. Just in that 5 minutes that we were filming this disc in thermal that was visible to the naked eye, it just decided not to video, only audio. Really bizarre. These things happen all the time. It's part of the this thing. And, as far as the being go and all this kind of stuff, but I don't really say that they've spoken in any way, shape, or form. I've had dreams, and that's it. Okay, I've got so many people saying, you've been abducted, this and that, and I'm like, no, I don't know that. It's a dream. Like other people telling me that what I'm seeing, because I've seen them since I was young, and they still don't say, okay, Damien, and they don't walk. It's not this phenomena is not as straightforward as that. But I think a lot of humans in this field who see UFOs then go the next step and try and make the story bigger, because a lot of people have people come up to them and say, oh, you're very special, you're this, you're that, incredible, and all this. And it's sort of, you notice that get bigger and change. And it's, I think it's because of, like, look at me, there's certain characters like snake oil salesmen back in the old day that are involved in this field, and you can't really say anything about them because it makes you news, like changing and carrying on, and you're a person. That's how it's gone at the moment. It's incredible. It's gone to the point where everyone is claiming anything and everything, and without evidence necessary, and expects everyone to believe it. And unfortunately, that's not the way. It's still about the UFOs in the sky, and we haven't even researched them properly to then make the next jump to the alien beings or the hybrid babies or kind of stuff. You know, UFO presidents in this country, one I know well, and her that what I'm doing is a waste of time. What all ufologists are doing are a waste of time. That we shouldn't be. It's gone past lights in the sky. It's not about lights in the sky anymore. It's about people's stories now. And I mean, stories are great, but I mean, it's not anything backed up with evidence whatsoever. It's just the story. And there's proliferates around the UFO field. Unfortunately, it's just everywhere. And you really have to have a good sense of of what's going on, and to really sort through the BS and the rubbish, because unfortunately there's so much of it. And what people like myself are doing, I find it incredible. Like, it's not just lights in the sky. We're having things appear at the end of our bed, and we're recording it with trail cameras in our rooms, and we're having lights appear above us. And what can explain that kind of stuff? It's incredible. I think it's amazing, but the reality is the New Age movement that's moved into ufology are now just concentrating on people whose stories about having alien hybrid babies, space fleets and all this stuff. I'm not saying it's not true at all, but from what I've met and the people who are claiming them, especially in this country, claiming stuff like that, it makes you wonder why the aliens would come to these certain individuals for anything. A lot of them are highly judgmental, highly, not people that you think aliens would want to continue the human race being hybrid with. It just makes no sense to me. So I think there's just a lot of, wishful thinking in this field, and there's a lot of people who will just say anything really to as soon as the money starts rolling in, and I know that's a big thing here. People who claim special abilities and they have special parties and stuff, charging people heaps and heaps of money. As soon as the money starts coming in, you're not going to back stories and how special you're going to make more and more special so that you get more and more money. This is behind the scenes with these some of the individuals in the world who are claiming this. And I've had personal one-on-one time with these individuals, and quite honestly, I'm glad I'm just doing what I'm doing and sticking to myself. But people like Kyle, who made that video, because I've done an interview with people's show or whatever the case may be before I think that they were completely whatever. I've been judged on that, and it's what I call a death by association. Really, it's since the documentaries come out, a lot of people have said, I'm best friends with him, I'm best friends with him, so it's costing money as well. But no, if you really do the work and the investigation, you'll see that I'm not making a cent out of the field. In fact, I've spent thousands on equipment, thousands on cameras. There's so much stuff to get more evidence, more there, and maybe 30, 100 when we're looking for 4 or 5 days, days, whatever the case, into 3.5 years, that's enough to live. That's nothing. It's not even enough to pay your petrol. And people are ready to wake the hell up, and people who are really making money. And unfortunately, it's just one of those things. Bunny's whispers. They need to hear the truth from the actual person themselves. If they don't believe that, call up and do investigation. Call up the people who you've done this for. Call up the people who you've done documentaries for. I've done everything for free. My footage away to ancient aliens on Australia for free. I've done for free. I've given all footage away for free. I provide a free website with for every footage for 2. People they don't look footage or talk to the witnesses or anything. They'll run other stuff but yet that is if and Kyle knows this, and this is a guy who sort of said that I'm doing, but the fact is he's making money off my video he made with me,
not just once but twice. He's made two copies of it, so he's making advertising revenue off every person who's clicking on it, and there's a lot of people clicking on it. So reason to bring it down because he's making money off it. So it's kind of highly hypocritical of these individuals accusing other people of making money off the subject when clearly he's making money. And this is why it's getting a lot of dislikes. It's not just because of what, which is quite disgusting, but it's because he's completely wrong. And I haven't pointed out to anyone that he's misrepresenting my work either. If I was to send this video to him, he'd be getting hammered. He'd have 150, 200, but I have anyone know about it because I don't want him to get more and more views. So why would I sort of point people in his direction? People can see my talks, see my interviews, and see the truth and see what I'm talking and see what I'm saying. These people don't bother doing any of that. They just say, okay, well, that looks fake, so that must be fake. That looks like, so it must be that. It's just, he's the most vocal, incredible. So I don't know what to do. What else can you do? We're releasing a blog in the next couple of days, stuff like this on our website, and I think it's really important speaking about a lot of what we've spoken about today. And because over the last year, I've been kind of quiet. I've had some health issues, some other things that I've had to do. So I've sort of moved a little bit away from the UFO field, especially since the Shane who came out. But I'm back into it now because again, until I think the other day, 3 or 4 days ago, we've had incredible sighting, and before that, we had like 6 weeks, 7 weeks, nothing at all. And I was in hospital, but it is how it works doing and fully as simple as that. Like people like actually look at the evidence, look at the footage, test it, and see that it's not fake. We've had a couple of people already and say, yeah, it's not fake. There's definitely something there. Whatever it has some sort of around it, or that's two people in a work. But then Kyle comes along, but they actually ask for original footage. That's the only way to tell if it's or not. But because what we put up on the video are in footage, put a whole a gigabyte, and then tell people or something. It's just a waste of space, time, waste of internet space, everything. We edited it down to so people, they're welcome to the original footage. I've had and a half. I've spoken about it for 3 years. I've also said I'd be happy to anything. But look, I'm seeing a lot of UFO as well, and going back to my childhood. So I mean, people can say what they want, but until they witnesses, do investigate, they're really just talking out there.
Yes, and you don't have to feel any shame if you were making money. I must say, if someone says he's just doing it for the money, the only reason they're saying that is because they can't think of any other reason why you're doing the work. But if you don't want to do it for the money for moral grounds, then it's not my business, obviously, to encourage you to make a profit off of it. But then again, like I said, I don't see anything wrong with that. However, things that people do that are wrong is try to demonize and discredit, like you said that guy who made that video did. And it says on that description of you on that New South Wales UFO YouTube channel where there's that 47-minute of you, you've been interviewed by newspapers and documentaries and such. Now, when people think of like mainstream media, newspapers and such, they think of stories that try to twist the truth, and that was like all the rage with the election yesterday. You could see that we're obviously twisting the truth in so many ways and trying to paint Donald Trump in a bad light and Hillary in a good light. But when it comes to UFO researchers, I could imagine that, and I did interview Tom Carey of Roswell research fame recently. He talked all about how when he gets interviewed by people, they try to demonize and discredit and paint him in a negative light. Have you, in general, gone through a similar experience when you do interviews for TV programs, newspapers, and other quote unquote mainstream programs that really aren't supposed to support the work that you do?
Look, I must be honest. I've had it relatively easy over the past few years. I mean, I've been in a couple of the major newspaper publications here, but luckily I had the reporters actually see UFOs with me. The Sun Herald reporters came out onto the property and actually witnessed two low-flying spheres chasing each other in the sky, flying right over the house. And I had a UFO group president sitting with us at the time, UFO New South Wales, and so, I mean, they were dumbfounded. They could not believe what they saw. So then they came back the following weekend. I decided to do the story with them and whatnot. But only because they saw the UFOs. I wasn't going to do the story otherwise. But that's happened time and time again, where the people who are coming out to do stories or documentaries or whatever the case on me, UFOs are appearing. It's almost like, it's almost like they're trying to help. It's really bizarre. And, ask anyone who's done, a documentary or whatever, and some of the high strangeness things that happen while filming. It's just, you can make it up. I mean, but you can't. Why would you? It's already insane enough. And, it's just one of those things with, I've had it very easy, I must say. I must admit, the worst thing that's happened is Kyle in his video. So, I mean, but how seriously can you take a guy with UFO tattoos on his neck who claims to be the UFO police, talking about wanting to bend you over and rape you in jail? I mean, how seriously can you take a person like that, who has no idea about the UFO phenomenon, no idea about your case, just automatically wants to make money off you because he knew that it was going to be very controversial, let's just say, putting the video up. This is why he put 2 videos up. Even his own subscribers asked, why have you put 2 videos up? And he couldn't give an answer. It's because he's going to get double the amount of money off me, off my work. It's just incredible. This is what I've found through the whole time I've been in this field. People sitting in Facebook groups, oh, he's doing it for money. Doing it for money. That's all they ever say, or he's hoaxing or something. And then when the footage is just obviously clearly not hoaxed, oh, he's doing it for fame or he's doing it for money. No, there's been no fame with this. I've had death threats. I've got a guy from Kentucky at the moment who wants to be writing a book about me, calling me the Antichrist, and he's writing a book. And I've had people for the last 4 years, but mostly from America, from weird churches and stuff, contact me and say that I'm the devil and I'm the Antichrist and I'm come back to, this is what these lights are that I'm seeing, some sort of demon, alien demon or something, or angel demon. And, I don't know what the hell's going on. It's really strange, like apparently some sort of communication with them because I've got one video, a trail camera video, infrared at night time. And, I'm lying in the, and I'm asleep on the sofa and next second there's this thing above me, this glowing thing, and I've got my eyes closed and I'm talking to it, it's what the hell. And then all of a sudden this thing just takes off and flies into a wall and it's gone like really quickly. And I'm like, what? And it looked like a ghost, what you'd see in a ghost night movie or something, and what you've heard being described, this big glowing thing looked like it was covered in a sheet. It was just bizarre. And when you see stuff like that and you realize, hold on, the door was locked from the inside all night. No one could have come in the room. The camera was set up behind the door. So even if they did come in the room, they would have knocked the camera over and it wouldn't have filmed that. So when you see stuff like that, you can either freak out or just go, okay, well, that's something strange and just put it sort of to the side. But, people are welcome to say what they want, but until they've experienced this themselves, they've got no real comeback. I mean, I had the skeptic, a current affair program here called Today Tonight. I had the Skeptics Association of Australia with Richard Saunders as the president try and debunk my work on television on this current affair program. Anyway, the biggest thing he could say was that, oh, wow, that was fast, when he saw one of my UFO videos, and never debunked anything. And in front of the whole country, the whole world,
they offered me $100,000 if I can prove that what I'm filming are extraterrestrial spacecraft. And I've never said at any of my talks that, oh, yeah, I know they're definitely extraterrestrial. They're definitely coming from Ursula Major or whatever the case may be, or Venus or whatever. I've never said that. I've tried to keep away from that so I don't get attacked by these guys. But still, they still use that because it's an age-old skeptic thing to do. You know, oh, they reckon it's aliens and stuff like that. No, we don't know what it is. You know, I think humans like to jump to something to make themselves understand it more, but we really don't know what they are. In reality, you know, we've got all these millions of stories out there, but no one's grabbed one and given it to, you know, scientists for worldwide consumption by the whole public. No one's ever really done that because it's not going to happen. And you know, whether they've landed here before, that's a good possibility. Whether they've crashed here before, that's a possibility. And I'm not saying they haven't. Whether we have their technology or not, mate, that's a good possibility. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm here to present what I'm seeing to the public as a reality of something strange going on, some paranormal phenomena going on. And I've noticed a lot of correlations between it and other phenomena as well, such as ghost phenomena and other strange, bizarre things. Because we tend to have these things happen quite a bit, and we can't explain it, you know. And a lot of people have seen them now as well, like going back to when I was young as well. These I lived in a house at Marryong, and a couple of times, you know, I'd have a friend over after school. We'd go for a swim in the swimming pool or whatever. And this one time, when I was quite young, I had a hallway down the end of the room, and we've gone to go put my bags in there. And as soon as we've looked around the corner, right down the end of the hallway, this black mass has walked into the wall right in front of us. And my friend ever came over again after that. It was the last time he ever came over my house, you know. And so seen bizarre things. I don't know what they are. I want to know. I filmed them. I've caught them on film. I've got some great stuff that'd make any ghost hunter go, oh my God, that's incredible. But I still don't know what they are, whether they're connected to the UFO phenomena or what. But there seems to be some sort of trickster kind of element happening here. And like I said, I don't think it's as straightforward as just aliens. I think some of that is the case, that there are extraterrestrials visiting us, but I think it goes a lot deeper than that, and it plays with human psyche, human emotion, and a whole bunch of other things. And hopefully I can, with the upcoming documentary I'm working on, I can actually release some solid scientific information in regards to these things that I'm working on now with some highly scientific minds. So that's the idea, and try to bring some credibility to the subject, and, you know, take away the stigma of people talking about it. And yeah, so that's the main ideal of what I'm doing, is just trying to show people that this is real, whatever it is. Don't know what it is, but it is real. It's happening, and people just really start waking up that we're not alone. Something's going on. So, you know, I've tried not to say what it is, so I don't get as attacked as much. I've got a lot of theories. But theories and reality, you know, until I can find substantiating evidence to back up my theories, then, you know, they just remain as theories. But a lot of people tend to put their theories out there as reality and write a book about it, and voila, instant expert. But the truth is that there are no experts in this phenomena, and anyone who tells you they know exactly what's going on is either having you for a fool or they're just lying to themselves. So,
Thank you. And interestingly, at a recent conference that I was at this past weekend in the Trenton area in New Jersey, Fringe Conference on Paranormal, one guy who deals with filming UFOs as well was talking about how owls, of all things, seem to be a bird or just anything, not just a bird or anything that seems to be seen very often when it comes to UFO sightings. Having watched this presentation a few days ago where he says this, I can't help but ask you, have you by any chance noticed any sort of correlation in your filming of UFOs between owls and UFOs? And if not owls, have you noticed anything else that may, like if you see a UFO, you often see this either before, after, or with the filming of the UFO?
yeah, look, I've heard about the owl phenomena and the so-called, you know, I've heard also that the extraterrestrials control the owls and see through the owl's eyes, and they can see us and what we're doing. That's the link between, or whatever the case may be. Look, I think out of all the I filmed over 200 and 300 UFOs on film, and I think one of those videos on the way back from a sighting, I saw an owl, but that's about it. I mean, and we filmed it sitting on a pole watching us. I mean, but no, look, I really haven't had much owl sort of experience. I find them to be beautiful creatures. I filmed a few, I did get a good video of one at Taree that turned around and started staring at me, but I don't think it had to do with aliens or anything. There was no extraterrestrials around or whatever. But no, look, I have noticed, one thing I have noticed about the UFO phenomena is shortly before we see them or whatever the case may be, not every time, but I get a strange kind of feeling. It's like an anxiety / something else. Just almost like a knowing, go outside now. I've had it like at weird hours of the morning, and I've woken up and gone outside, taken a photo, and then gone back inside. Next morning, I've looked at the camera, and there's like some strange cigar hanging at an angle in the nighttime sky or whatever. And I'm just going, what's going on? And strange things like that. But one thing I have noticed also is not before all of them, but before some of them, if you look up in the sky and you see a strange localized flash, either daytime or nighttime. You can see them in day or night sky, and you'll see a flash and then another one, maybe 14, 15, 18 seconds later, and then it can continue on. And sometimes the sky can light up in flashes, and sometimes this happens just before UFOs arrive. And it's really bizarre. I've got one bit of footage of a UFO that several of us saw and filmed on a few cameras right over the house here. And this was this strange looking alive kind of weird thing that was like rotating and twisting and turning as it was moving. And there were several of these things up in the sky in different parts, moving in different directions. And it was just incredible. But this particular large one that we were concentrating on, while it was moving, and it was moving towards some clouds, a flashing object has appeared next to it. And this object would brightly flash. And as this object's moving, this object is disappearing, then flashing, but the flashes are getting closer to the main object. So it was almost like this object was tracking the main object. And then it sort of went behind it and kept flashing. One flash every, 7, 8 seconds or something like that, not every second or two. But there was something definitely in the sky. And we've caught multiple bits of footage of these, what I call flashes, for lack of a better term, going through the sky and tracking or following other objects. And it's the same thing with these red spheres. That's another coincidence, or whatever the case may be, of some sort of interaction between objects with these red spheres getting chased away by white spheres. We filmed one that in the daytime just last week, was witnessed by 5 people, including my father, and he was down from the country. And, that man's seen more UFOs than, most people I've ever met in my life, and up until 4 years ago, he'd never seen anything. And now it's something that's brought us closer together. It was quite an incredible experience. Dunny Do, I'm not sure if you've heard about that, but, a lot of action was taking place nearly nightly, to the point where my father would go out himself. I had trouble in the first place getting him to come outside to see them, but when he did and started seeing them, I couldn't get him away. And there'd be times where I was inside getting sick of going out, and he'd be out the backyard calling me out, and so it's changed him as a person. He saw some incredible things, and it's an amazing thing that it does bring people close together. It really does. And I've lived away from my father most of my life, and but this is something that he knows is real now. I know it's real. Most of my family who have seen them with me know it's real, or they know it's real. They know that I'm not just making it up. I mean, they know that I'm not sort of imagining it, or they know I'm not crazy, because if I'm crazy, that means they're crazy as well, because they've seen it too, right? I mean, I've had, at one stage, I had 3 police officers standing next to me in my backyard, witnessing 2 UFOs playing around with each other right above our heads. And they were absolutely blown away. I mean, this is police officers, so people can say, people tend to trust people with certain jobs on this world, even though that, if you go to university, it has no real bearing on, ufology or studies of UFOs or actually, being open to them or anything. But, that people do tend to believe certain people have certain positions in the world, police officers, judges, lawyers, whatever the case may be. Oh, not so much lawyers, but, so they tend to sort of believe, like astronauts and pilots and stuff like that. So, I've had pilots standing next to me. One of them was in the documentary Australian Skies, and he saw a whole bunch of craft or when I say craft, are objects that were appearing, lights, and sort of interacting with each other, flying around each other. Some of them would go up to each other really close, not touch, but then one would then zip around the other object. One thing that we saw constantly, which is an almost a constant with this phenomena, is their attraction to airborne human objects, i.e. planes, balloons, anything that we send up into the air, drones, whatever the case may be. It seems at one point or another during the video or whatever, something will come down, hang near it, start flashing near it, whatever the case may be. We have a very high success rate with that kind of thing. And it's, how can you explain that? It's the same with the missile silos, how, there's reports of them hanging above and shutting down nuclear missiles and that sort of thing. They do tend to have some sort of, fascination really with with what we have in the skies, with our aircraft over the years. And, and that's constant. I've got so many videos in really good quality of UFOs going up to planes while they're flying in the daytime sky or nighttime sky, or appearing above them and then flying with them. Really strange things. So I saw that heaps in Dunedoo. They'd appear behind the aeroplanes and then follow the plane for a little while, then move to the front of the plane so quickly that it looks like the plane's standing still. It's just the maneuvers that they make are absolutely incredible. And it's getting to a point really where it can't be denied anymore. And I think that, whoever's keeping this dirty secret, I don't think it's government as such. It's probably outside of government by now. But whoever's keeping this secret is probably sort of getting a bit worried about internet and all this stuff getting out there. And eventually I think they're probably planning on a way of getting this out there to the public without making themselves out to be liars over the past 70 years or whatever the case may be. I really hope that happens, but I'm not counting my breath. I think that if the only way that any type of disclosure will happen that will be meaningful and believed by people all around the world would be an Independence Day scenario, where you have a major craft floating above every major city all at once around the world. Now, that would be something that they couldn't just sweep under the table, that they could say, oh, no, it's just a couple people seeing a flock of geese or something. And, that's something that would just be, that would be it for that. We'd know then, hey, something else going on. We're not alone. Normal people would know. Not everyone would accept it, no doubt. You'd have your religious people who would probably, be up in arms about it. But what I've also noticed over the past few years, a lot of religious people, especially Catholics and Christians, have jumped on the UFO bandwagon, and they've twisted it to their, because I think they realise there is something to the phenomena, but they've twisted it to their, beliefs. And even the Vatican have now come out and said that the belief in the extraterrestrials does not negate the belief in God, i.e. extraterrestrials can be baptized and God's all powerful, that he could have created them as well. That goes against 500 years of doctrine, and we're the center of the universe and we're the apex of God's creation, all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of big things happening around the world, and probably a lot of people getting ready for something. But what it is and when it's going to happen, who really knows? I think we've been talking about it since the 70s, and with the Indigo kids and the Star Children and all this, and they're going to be change, and there's going to be disclosure and all this. And look, still hasn't happened. And like I said, I'm not holding out my breath.
Fair enough, but it goes without saying that what you said about the Independence Day scenario, that's some people say that is expected to happen. Like I did interview ET contactee Ray Kusalandich, who had somebody compile a whole booklet of what UFOs, what the spacecraft for specific races of ETs actually looks like. And I don't know if you want to take some time to maybe research him and look into his work to see if any of the craft that he's seen, that he had someone illustrate in his book, or any of the craft that you've seen, and you can say, okay, well now I know the ET group that that craft belongs to. But he did say that his contacts have told him that around 2017, this upcoming year, is when they're going to actually try to show themselves, because like you said, the government is not going to come out and say, okay, we've been lying to you, the ET disclosure thing is real, all the alternative websites are telling the truth and all, we were covering it up. So that's not going to happen. So the ETs are going to show themselves. Now, whether or not you want to consider an ET contactee to be a good source is, well, it's up to your own personal discernment. However, I do want to talk about what the craft you are seeing, what they actually are. Like mentioned, Ray Kusalanich, all that was that booklet that someone that he hired to illustrate it showed what ET groups belong to this craft that could help answer that. But your fellow Aussie George Kavasilis, I interviewed him. He said that the majority, and this was actually around late 2013 when I first started doing the show, that he told me this, so maybe things have changed now. He said the majority of UFO craft that we see have some connection to the military industrial complex of some nation. And John Lear, when I interviewed him, he said that every military industrial complex UFO craft does have some extraterrestrial nexus to it. So, by virtue of both their statements, then you could say, okay, the vast majority of craft we see have some extraterrestrial connection. Now, also, where these craft are coming from, there's the idea that they are interdimensional, and when they come into our dimension, they're temporarily raising or lowering their frequency to enter this dimension. And that's one idea. They also say, okay, they're coming from different planets. Okay, well, how are they making the trip? Well, they can bend and warp space time, like Bob Lazar fans would assert, or they have other ways, like maybe teleportation and all that. I mean, I understand this goes out your realm of research and all that, because you're more like trying to film them and all, but at the same time you do want to see what am I looking at up there. And also the hoax thing, the hoax possibility. David Icke, in one of his books, I think it was The Biggest Secret, talked about, hey, UFOs, it's all interesting and all, but you have to understand there's probably a lot of UFO craft that we see up there that the government is just for the hell of it trying to, for the sake of like disinformation and making it hard for people to use their own discernment, just throwing up craft up into the sky that's really government craft that people are mistaking for UFOs. David I calls that the UFO hoax, and he says just you got to be careful. Even when you use your own discernment, you can't really use your discernment to determine, okay, that's a government hoax or whether it's a real craft. But okay, I've babbled long enough here. When it comes to determining what these craft are, do you think, like, okay, maybe ET contactees like Greg Gusalaj are a good source, and do you agree or disagree with the vast majority are military industrial complex, be they ET or not, craft? What's your take on all this stuff?
Well, look, I tend not to listen too much to contactees because, I mean, contactees from the start, going back, to the 50s. It's funny that the aliens who speak to these contactees back then came from Mars and Venus, and they came from planets that we knew of at the time. And that's changed as soon as we knew about the constellation of Lyra and the constellation of Sirius and all this. Then the aliens started coming from them. So with our knowledge, all of a sudden the aliens, as our knowledge has expanded to the universe, so have the contactees' claims that the extraterrestrials have come from those places as well. They don't come from places that we don't know about yet, which is quite strange. I'm not saying that the extraterrestrials are making it all up, but I haven't. I mean the extraterrestrials. I mean the contactees are making it all up or anything like that at all. I'm just stating that there's a lot of curious sort of things that don't make sense with what they say, and a lot of what contactees say, they take bits and pieces of stories. I've done a lot of research on them. I'm a student of Jacques Vallée as well, and they've done a lot of research. I've done a lot of research on these people, and a lot of them claim they take bits and pieces of other contactee stories and add it to their own. I'm not sure if you know recently of Stan Romanek. If you've heard of Stan Romanek, well, he's a
Maybe.
contactee from America there, and he's supposed to be one of the biggest with the most amount of evidence in the world. You know, he's had the documentaries made on him and whatnot, and he had the alien head come up in the window. That guy. Well, recently in an interview he did, he thought his hands were off the camera because you could only see his head on the little Skype box, and so he started throwing pens and USB sticks at his own head, making out that aliens were doing it to him. And unfortunately for him, you could see his hand and his thumb flick up in the corner in one of the videos that was slowed down. And he completely just rubbished himself in an interview, rubbished the guy who was doing the interview with by doing that, and called his name and all the contactees' names into absolute disrepute. Now, if a person does that to go, oh, look at me, I'm still special, that's a lot of what I think happens here. People will see UFOs, and a lot of the contactees will see UFOs in the beginning, but then when they have people around them go, oh my God, have you spoken to them? Have you seen them? Tell me what they've seen, and you're very special. They start saying, oh yeah, I have spoken to them actually. And I've seen that in so-called contactees in Australia, people who've claimed to have absolutely no interest in UFOs, never seen one in their life, filmed one the week before, and then a few weeks later, they're claiming to have wives on other planets. Because UFO group people are saying, asking them questions like, oh, when you were young, were you scared of mirrors? And they'd say, oh, yeah, I was. Oh, I must have had a UFO activity or alien activity, you know, when I was a kid. You know, and then their stories just exaggerate and blow out like it's just incredible, you know. So for me, the reality is you keep your story when you first tell it. You don't keep changing your story. You don't keep adding bits to it, because you do that and it just becomes more incredible, more full of it. The less evidence you have, I'm an evidence person. If you make extraordinary claims, you have to have extraordinary evidence to back it up. And unfortunately, 99% of these contactees don't have this extraordinary evidence to back anything up that they're saying whatsoever. And I think there's too much conspiracy, too much, you know, interjection. No one really knows what the truth is about this phenomenon. People have bits and pieces of it and ideas, and they tend to add their own bits to it. And I've seen this time and time and time again, to the point where I've literally had to distance myself from nearly everyone in Australia who's claiming all that sort of stuff, because, you know, I know of the reality of the phenomena, and I've seen firsthand you know, these people changing bits and pieces of their stories, lying to the public about certain things. I've seen these people behind the scenes. They're completely different people than what they show the public. And it's disgusting, to tell you the truth. It's almost like a big game to go, how much money can I get today? How much crowdfunding money can I get if I say this or that? And, you know, and they joke about it. They think it's the funniest thing on earth. I can get heaps of money off these people if I say this or that. And, you know, I've been around them when this has happened, and I'm quite disgusted about it. And unfortunately, it's made me like, oh, I'm trying to get to the truth, not these liars and filling their pockets with money. So that's not with everyone. I don't doubt that at all. But the contactee phenomena for me has little to no value whatsoever in the actual. I'm about the phenomena itself, not people's claims and stories. Stories are great, but at the end of the day, they're just stories. So I try and keep away from them as much as possible, however interesting they may be. But you do notice similarities over the years with these contactee stories, and, you know, most of the time, unfortunately, they get found out to be hoaxes. And from what I've seen here in Australia, people claiming that sort of stuff, they're pretty much the same. So it's quite a sad thing, and it adds it basically kicks ufology in the back, this kind of stuff, because people in the general public who are getting into it look at this sort of stuff and go, oh wow, that's real, or it must be real because this person's talking about it. And then when they get found out to be a hoaxer, that person goes, oh, okay, I thought that was real, so if they're not real, then the whole thing must not be real. This is what I come across time and time again. And like I said, death by association. This is why I don't associate with people in this field, in this country. I really have, or really in the world. I never used to post on Facebook groups or anything like that. I'd never shove my footage down people's, you know, throats. I've never contacted the media myself. I've never contacted anyone in regards to this. It's always been people contacting me, and if I feel right about it, I'll go ahead and do it. But people seem to assume I'm competing with people who are making money off the phenomena by having properties here in Australia, where they charge people to come and sit next to them to see satellites and stuff like that. And, this is what I'm competing with. And these people will drag your name through the mud just so that people go to them. And this is what I've seen time and time again. It's an absolute, it's a fight, really. And this is why I got off Facebook, because I just have no time for clowns. And I've noticed people who've tried to give me stuff in this country, so-called ufologists or whatever the case may be, if I don't accept it or say, no, look, sorry, blah, 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 then they start rubbishing you. So it's like, okay, well, that's kind of obvious why you're doing and saying that. It's like if you accept something off them, then, you have to do something for them or get them famous or get them on TV or it's just ridiculous. Like I said before, there's no fame to be had with this. And I've just received just rubbish and from it and crap off. A couple of scientists, a few police officers have contacted me and, this kind of thing. And pretty much and people from the general public, which is great. This is what I want to hear, just people telling their stories. It's opened up, people that feel they can tell their stories. But then you've got a certain amount of people who think that not only are they, I don't know if it's a personality issue or whatever, but they're on par with you and they're better than you. And I've noticed that people, like every now and then you let someone in and, and they come around, hear parts of your story and then go tell other people that as though it's their story. And then other people who are very gullible in UFO fields here believe that story. And you're just like, oh, what's going on? This is insane. This happens all around the world too. And, it's only going to get worse, like with people like Kyle and that, who feel that they can, and they can be protected by YouTube. So there's nothing that anyone can do. Even he's talking about violence and rape. People have complained about that video so many times, but yet they're not taking it down because it's making a hell of a lot of money for him and YouTube. So, what can I do? I'm not making a cent off anything. I don't have any ads on any of my videos on AAPI. I don't share them anywhere. I don't do anything with them. I just put them up there, do my work, and then keep going. I don't shove them down people's throats. I don't make money off anything. And that's what it's all about from the start. And the skeptics have tried to bring me down with that, and they can't. Even the skeptics on national TV, they offered me 100 grand if I can prove, that they're extraterrestrials. And then behind the scenes, I contacted them and said, look, I can't prove they're extraterrestrial, but I can prove that I'm filming them. If you send someone out who's an open-minded astronomer, whatever the case may be, spend a week with me, they wouldn't do it. They said, oh, you're not eligible to enter. And this is after, showing the whole country, putting it across that, oh, we'll give Damien 100 grand if you can prove this. And then behind the scenes, you're like, oh, no, you can't enter. So it's little tricks they play. And, it's going to get worse with, YouTube and stuff like that. I think now places like YouTube have made people think anybody can be an expert on anything now because of the internet and all this sort of stuff. And this is why a lot of older ufologists are sort of not really happy with the new age UFO movement, so to speak. A lot of ufologists here, the old school guys, won't comment because they feel like they're going to be more rejected from the UFO scene because the new age UFO scene has taken over from their work and work that they've been doing for years, but it's taking over their work with stuff like reptilian aliens and absolutely insane stuff that no one can really fully prove, like conspiracy things. And that's what's taken over ufology. And unfortunately, the actual real study and scientific study of the phenomena has gone the way of Project Blue Book, which was no scientific study, which was just basically a public debunking exercise. And, unfortunately, we don't need any, government people in this field to wreck it or to get amongst UFO groups anymore because it's the UFO groups themselves that wreck the phenomena in the public's eyes. People look at them and think, oh my God, they must be all crazy when they hear stuff like this. And I've had constant emails from the public and calls from the public saying the same thing. They don't know what's true or not now, what's real, what's not, what's going on. And it's just all over. It's like a big circus and no one knows the truth, but everyone's trying to make out like they know the truth. And it's quite a sad thing because we're not getting anywhere with that. And thankfully, Jacques Vallée has now come back into the scene after all these years. So, I couldn't be more happy. Hopefully he'll bring some more reality to this phenomena and show people that, we should be concentrating on this and not
hybrid specimen, such and such. It may all be true, but there's nothing to back it up. We need baby steps to show the public there's a phenomena in the first place before we try and show the public that there's beings that are associated with that phenomena, or all this other rubbish is happening, baby steps. But they just seem to want to think that, they're just lights in the sky. It's gone beyond that now. And this is like a couple of big names in this country. They think there's no need for trace evidence. There's no need for any type of evidence at all, as long as people are telling them stories and people seem believable about their hybrid alien baby experiences. That's all the evidence that's needed. If you go on a big name in this country, you go on her website, you'll see under alien evidence, hand-drawn photographs of someone drawing an alien, and that's evidence of aliens. It's insanity, and we need some truth and reality in this field, and less conjecture and just more actual evidence to teach people. Other people aren't going to believe this stuff, except for the people who are willing to believe anything without evidence, and there's a lot of them out there. So.
Yeah, and the future of what holds for this field, with the consciousness of the Earth rising, and you mentioned the Indigo Children, Star Children, and all that. I interviewed Mary Rodwell, your fellow researcher from Down Under, all about that. And interestingly, correlating with that, and also consciousness of the Earth rising, ET, Star Children, and all that coming to Earth, and also possible increase in UFO sightings. Now, I wanted to ask you, have you seen in more recent years an increase in UFO videos? And maybe if you haven't filmed them, had the chance to film them, could you say, yeah, if I were to have all the free time on my hands in the world, I would be seeing more nowadays than I used to, and maybe there is some truth to the whole idea, okay, because the Earth's consciousness is rising, that correlates with a greater increase of UFOs coming to the planet.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I don't know if it's got to do with the Earth's consciousness increasing or whatever the case may be. That's just human terms for something we really don't understand. We are increasing, but I don't think it's because they're coming here because we're becoming more open-minded. It's possibly for other reasons. Like I was speaking about before, how they're very interested in nuclear weapons, stuff like this. There's a lot of stuff going on in the moment around the world, with Russia, with North Korea, America. It's kind of getting to a point where there could be some sort of Cold War-ish, almost like standoff soon between North Korea and the States and South Korea, whoever gets involved with that one. But North Korea keeps pushing the buttons. There's a theory that some of these things could be time travelers even, that they've seen destruction that's going to happen on this Earth, so they're coming back and they're trying to fix something. This destruction could happen from these nuclear weapons that, Kim Jong-un is, threatening to reduce America to ashes and stuff like this. So notice, and the Russians have spoken about this as well, when they used to bring a lot of their military together and rockets and do rocket testing, the UFOs would come. Now, why is this? What are they worried about with our rockets, okay, with nuclear warheads? There's been constant case after case with silos in America, Russia, all over the place, up here at Pine Gap, you name it. There's just been some, it's quite well documented, so they do have an interest. So at this point of technological and scientific evolution of human beings, where we're getting to this point, no doubt there would be more. And I've seen an increase myself, and I've filmed an increase since 2012. It's been literally insane, the amount of UFOs that we see. They come in waves. Our peak months are January, February, March, and then you've got September, October, November, and it sort of builds up. But then you have little sporadic waves in between them. But yeah, they have been coming at a greater number than what I've ever seen in my life. At one stage in Dunedoo, we were counting up to 13 a night. And these are objects that would, like 3 or 4 at a time, that would just move around each other in the sky and do all sorts of stuff, fly off at high speeds and all that kind of stuff. And you could see satellites around them, and you could see all these other normal planes and everything. And then you'd have these weird lights doing stuff. So I know that, they're up there in massive numbers. They're around. That opens up the possibility as well of interdimensional travel, as you were mentioning earlier.
This is something that I've been looking into quite a fair bit as well, because the way that I've seen them appear and disappear is quite an interdimensional kind of aspect to it. It's quite unusual. Just to give one example, I was up at Taree at a lookout, and I was there with a friend, and we just rocked up and got out of the car. Very second I got out of the car, I looked up, and then out of the sky, just a blue sky. It was an afternoon. It was probably 2 hours to the sunset, and I've looked up, and there was this almost like a bluish black kind of opening in the sky, and it was sideways. And I was like, what? I was looking at it, and just as it opened, the very second it opened, this what looked like oh God, best way to describe it, like a rusty whale, like a rusty metallic whale, not with the fins or anything, but just the body shape of a whale, came out of this hole and then turned around like this and went straight into another small hole, almost like an interdimensional hole in the sky, 2 holes. It was bizarre. But this thing, I saw it close, clear. It was like a rusty red thing. It was really bizarre, and it was big, but it was there 1 second. 2 seconds later, it's gone into another hole and gone. And then the sky's normal again. And, I've seen stuff like that, not the rusty whale one, but I've seen like a whole bunch of other weird things come out of holes and do stuff like that. So you got to ask yourself the question, is there an aspect to it? Other aspects, you look at paranormal ghost phenomena as well, and a lot of that has a similar kind of aspect to it, a multi or interdimensional or extra or ultra dimensional aspect to it. And I find that, very, very unusual and definitely worthy of study. There's a scientist a doctor in England who's been doing some studies about relationships between UFO phenomena and other phenomena. And he has found that a lot of, especially a lot of the people who see the UFOs and stuff like that have high emotional upbringings, all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of little weird correlations, but they also see, he believes that the phenomena could be produced by the human brain. And this is something that I've thought about too, because they've appeared on 8 separate occasions now when I haven't seen them for a while. And I've looked up at the sky and I've been a bit sad, and I've thought, no, is it all over? What's going on? And all of a sudden one will appear right where I'm looking. And this has happened 8 or 9 times now. And, I think 3 of those times I caught it on film. So just putting thoughts across, I know it sounds pretty out there, but it's happened, but it doesn't happen all the time. So there is something, either blocking it or something to do with human emotion, human connection that they have with us, whatever the case may be. But he believes that a lot of the poltergeist type phenomena, stuff like that, it seems to be centered around certain individuals. So there may be something about these individuals, because we only use, 10, 11% of our brain. So who's to say that these other individuals, or certain individuals that see a lot of these objects or ghosts or whatever, or have this stuff happen around them, don't have more of their brain opened up than normal people, almost like some sort of psychic ability maybe that could be inherent in all of our brains, but it's just not unlocked yet due to whatever reason. So there's a lot of theories out there, and I find that quite amazing, the coincidences of looking up in the sky, thinking about them, not seeing them in quite a while, then them appearing right there where you're looking, appearing as a big cigar, then sucking back in on themselves, or appearing as a big orange light, or whatever the case may be, then stopping, going over this way, then going this way. Especially when they do it during the daytime, and you see them appear just out of nowhere. It's incredible. So, there is something to it. There is something strange. And getting to the bottom of it's the big thing. Trying to get some really big scientific minds with their equipment on it would be just incredible. And this is something next month I'm going down to Melbourne to do with an actual scientist and parapsychologist. So doing some interesting brainwave scanning things to see if we can look for any portable EEG meters. It's a new kind of invention, and they can scan 5 different brainwave types. And so we're trying to look at to see if there's any type of change in my brainwave patterns when I see the UFOs and before I see them. I get a type of feeling or whatever the case may be. And as well, when I'm looking at them, if there's a change in my activity or a spike in some certain area when I'm trying to put a thought across to them, and if they interact or do something on that thought. So we're going to do a few experiments and see, what we come up with. But now, first time in history, we have the technology to be able to do this and scientifically investigate something that could be quite strange. And,
I think we're with a lot of what the UFO field is in, we're jumping the gun, and I think we need to keep it simple for people so they can really follow it and understand it, and not just for the conspiracy theory buffs out there. It's about all people, and most of the people don't really accept the phenomenon or don't really want to believe that it's real. Most of the general public, or a good deal of them. So, I might be seen as a crazy person by most people, but then you wonder like how they would see people who claimed to be a hybrid alien child baby or whatever the case may be. So I think baby steps, like I said, and eventually, it's going to get to a point where it's going to be undeniable for most people, and I hope that happens soon because I want the stigma to disappear. I think it's very important.
Yeah, I want it to happen soon too. And on that note, and we may actually end this after that. Usually the show would definitely end by now, but because you were like 25 minutes late, I've decided to go past 8 o'clock Eastern. But in regards to getting the information out, there's been talk about why this isn't happening in regards to the disclosure happening faster than it could be and all that. And the word on the street from people like Captain K, Randy Kramer, who claims to have gone to Mars and all that, and some other people as well, have said that the primary reason why all the white hats in the government and all the people who could release, all the whistleblowers who could release information exposing what the UFOs are, what the ET connections to them are, the reason they're not just releasing all that all at once is because they feel that a great majority of society would not be able to handle it. And when I heard that, I got to tell you, I did a double face palm because, look, I understand you feel that maybe baby steps is the way to go, but to me, I think it's ridiculous and a lame excuse to say that we can't expose the truth because humanity can't handle it. Because I do feel humanity needs a nice kick in the pants for being apathetic and not wanting to accept the truth. So we should just release it. And if people commit suicide because they can't handle the truth, God forbid, then hey, don't blame the whistleblowers for those people committing suicide. The suicidal folks have no one to blame but themselves for not being able to handle the truth. That's the way I see it. But I see her laughing.
I like that. I like the way you think. That's excellent. But I agree with you to that point. But I believe that we should release that the phenomena is real, not like shove sort of hybrid babies down people's throats, all this sort of stuff. With the public, if you were to come out and say tomorrow, front page of the paper, alien hybrid babies are real, most people go, is this a joke? What's going on? This is insane. But if you said actually UFOs are real, people go, oh, okay, well, I kind of knew that already. But all this other stuff is, maybe true or maybe not. But you're right. I think that people need a good kick in the pants, and whoever doesn't accept the reality that something's visiting us, then hey, that's your problem. You can go off and bury your head in the sand over there. I don't really give a damn. But the truth is that eventually it's going to be something that's going to be accepted in the future. It's probably even going to be taught at school. Who knows? It's just at schools and that. But it's just it's one of those things that only the future will really tell what's going to happen. I mean, if you look back at the war, back in when they did the War of the Worlds with Orson Welles, and the way that the public reacted to that, back in when it was a 52 or whatever. Public went into hysteria, but we are different nowadays. We have grown up more. We've got the internet now. We're more in touch with what's happening all around the world and conspiracies and all this sort of stuff. So we would be able to handle it a little bit better. But you still would have people, religious people and other people who would just blatantly refuse to believe it. But look, whatever gets people through life, I've got no qualm with, and whatever makes you happy makes you happy. Whatever you want to believe in, you believe in. But I'm fighting, and I know a few other people in this field are really fighting hard and putting all their effort into making this be accepted as a real phenomenon, not a joke, and something that is tangible and scientifically testable, in some way or another. Eventually, hopefully, we can get some equipment, some better equipment, but we just need more scientists to jump on board and have the guts and the the interior conditioning to say, okay, I'm going to wipe out everything I know about science. I'm going to wipe out it and just be an open-minded person about it, or scientist. And we need a lot of those people to say, okay, not worried about what other scientists and my peers think about me. And this is a big problem in the field. This is why a lot of scientists don't want to get involved in it, and ones that I've spoken to as well. And so it's quite sad that it's still like that. And yeah, I want that to go. I want people to accept this as a reality. But what the reality is another question. And I think it's a little bit more trickier than what people assume. So.
Yes, it is. That's a fact of life. And on that note, before we end this, I'd like to give you the chance to get your contact info out, your website aapi.info, and also how people can contact you through that. If you want to give your specific email address out, by all means, go ahead. And what the future holds for that site, and then we'll call it a night, or in your case, call it a day, because you're in a different, much different time zone than me. So.
Not a problem. All right, mate. Yeah, my contact details, you can reach me on my website, www.aapi.info, and my email is uapinvestigations@mail.com. And, I'd be happy to answer any questions. If you've footage you'd like, to look at, whatever the case may be, I'd be happy to look at your footage for you. We don't investigate footage ourselves of other people because we have our own. But, I'd be happy to pass you on to anybody else in this country or another country that will be happy to have a closer look at it for you. But yeah, any questions anyone has, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you very much. And by the way, this second half of this interview, for whatever the reason, the Skype connection was a lot better. I don't know if that was our guardian angels and guides trying to get involved and keep them from not sabotaging our interview. But I'm going to write an apology when I upload this. Sorry for all the sound glitches, not my fault. Just try to bear through it. The second half of the interview, I couldn't encourage you, was a lot more clear. So, but you got a lot of info nonetheless. So, with that being said, Damien, good luck. I wish you a good day. And maybe I'll see you at some future conference, even though we're in a different part of the world. I do attend a lot of these conferences, and if you can come to the States, or if I get lucky enough to come down under for the first time in my life, that would be lovely. Maybe I'll see you sometime down there. So have a good day, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks for having me on your show, and I thank your audience for listening. And that was a really interesting interview, and keep on doing what you're doing. Thanks a lot.
Will do. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Okay, man. Bye.
Bye. All right, folks, that is the end of this interview. And next, we're having Sherry Wild up as my guest next Tuesday. It's going to be a pre-recorded show. So with that being said, folks, this is Andrew Fisher signing off from Nature of Reality Radio. Namaste, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your trek throughout infinite consciousness.